wanted to just run away from home, run away from your problems, leave them all behind, get a clean slate, start all over. Really? There's too many, I can't handle them? Yeah, right? You know what? That's a human emotion, I think, is that idea of escape what's there so that I can just start over, and I promise I won't mess it up this time. I remember that old bumper sticker back in the 90s, I guess it was, where all the commercial realtors had it on their car. It said, "Please, God, just give me one more great real estate cycle, and I promise I won't lose it this time."
It's a long bumper sticker.
It was a long month. It was a long month. There was some words in there I didn't really want to use up here. So all right, anyway. That's off the script, right? So anyway, we have all discovered, though, through the process that perhaps the grass is not always greener on the other side. And we are continuing with our cool summer series this morning with Dr. Seuss and the Science of Mind. And our tale today is called "I Had Trouble in Getting to Sollew." Now, this is not one of his most popular titles. Many of you may not have heard it. I had not. It's not like Cat in a Hat and Red Fish, Blue Fish, Green Fish, whatever that one is. But this one has a good story, and it's got a lot of fun Seussisms in it, as they all do. Very creative. It's a tongue twister like they all are, so bear with me. And I get to juggle the book and the microphone, so bear with that too, please. All right. I was real happy and carefree and young, and I lived in a place called the Valley of Vomit. And nothing, not anything, ever went wrong until, well, one day I was walking along. And I guess I got careless. I guess I got gawking at daisies and not looking where I was walking. And that's how it started. Sock! What a shock! I stubbed my big toe on a very hard rock. And I flew through the air, and I went for a sail, and I sprained the main bone in the tip of my tail. Now, I never had ever had troubles before, so I said to myself, I don't want any more. If I watch out for rocks with my eyes straight ahead, I'll keep out of trouble forever, I said. But watching ahead, well, it just didn't work. I was watching those rocks. Then I felt a hard jerk. A very fresh, green-headed Quillian quail sneaked up from in back and went after my tail. And I learned there are troubles of more than one kind. Some come from ahead and some come from behind. So I said to myself, now I'll just have to start to be twice as careful and be twice as smart. I'll watch out for trouble in front and in back sections by aiming my eyeballs in different directions. I found this to be quite a difficult stunt, but now I was safe, both in back and in front. Then new troubles came from above and below, a scritch at my neck and a shrink at my toe. And now I was really in trouble, you know. The rocks, and the quail, and the scritch, and the shrink. I had so many troubles, I just couldn't think. There I was, all completely surrounded by trouble, when a chap rumbled up in a one-wheeler wobble. Young fellow, he said, what has happened to you has happened to me and to other folks too. So I'll tell you what I have decided to do. I'm off to the city of Sollew, on the banks of the river Wahoo, where they never have troubles, at least very few. It's not very far, and my camel is strong. He'll get us there fast, so hop on, come along. So, does that sound like a familiar story? We're going along in life, and it's all hunky-dory, and everything's going our way until it's not. And we have something happen. We go, ooh, who was that? And then something else happens. We go, oh, I better start watching out. Stuff's happening. And then we start focusing on stuff happening and looking for it, what's around the next corner. And we then begin to have that downward spiral sometimes, don't we? That downward spiral where we feel like there's so much negativity happening in our life. What is going on here? And we get caught up in that. And we talk a lot here about the power of our thought. That's sort of the whole basis of our teaching, right? Is the power in our thoughts in creating, in the creative process, in creating our world and our life. And the author of The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes, the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, he had that famous saying, change your thinking, change your life. You ever heard that? Yeah, that was his famous saying that he always said and wrote about in the book. And what I've discovered is that little thing works both directions. Did you know that? You can change your thinking from negative to positive and change your life, but you can also change your thinking from positive to negative, and your life will change too, right? Just like our little friend here with his troubles. In The Science of Mind, he says, as we come to realize that thoughts are things, we shall also see that different kinds of thoughts will produce different types of effects. Has that been your experience? Yeah. What we call our thought is really the place where we are using creative mind itself. What we call thought is the place where we are using creative mind itself. Powerful. But we're born with this. It's not something we have to learn. It's not something we have to will. It's not something that we have to struggle with. It's just a part of who we are. It's a part of how we be in the world. We can, though, learn to direct that, can't we? By our choices. We can learn to direct it. I remember during the last recession. Anybody remember that time? I remember during the last recession that I got pulled into the media. I got pulled into what was happening. It was almost as if I had a ticker tape running across the bottom of my computer screen to keep up with every drop in the market, every house that got foreclosed on, every bad economic report that came out, everything that happened. And I was participating in those conversations, and I was being caught up in it. I was being pulled into that downward spiral. And it was a very interesting time because I felt awful. I felt awful for people that were going through the experiences, and I felt awful myself physically by being so focused on all of that. It was just not a good time. There was a sense of grief, a sense of loss, a sense of fear, a sense of blame, frustration. All of those, remember those feelings? I think many of us felt those feelings at that time. And it was sort of like our little friend here that we've been talking about. Life stank, and I wanted to run away. So remember, he had been offered the opportunity to leave his troubles. And he says, I jumped up behind him, then all through that day, the wubble wubbed on its wobblesome way. The road got more bumpy, more rocky, more tricky. By midnight, I tell you, my stomach felt icky. And so I said, Mister, please, when do we get to that wonderful town? Aren't we almost there yet? Young fellow, he told me, don't start in to stew. At sunrise, we'll drive into Solla, Sollew. And you'll have no more troubles, I promise, I do. But when the dawn finally came and the darkness got light, that wonderful city was nowhere in sight. Instead of the city, we ran into trouble. Our camel got sick and he started to wobble. We had to pull him in the one-wheeler wobble. So there we were in a dreadful position. Our camel sure needed a camel physician. Now, doctors for camels are not often seen, especially on mountains. They're far, far between. But we pulled that old wobble and set out to find some doctor while dragging the camel behind. I pulled and pulled and pulled. Then the next thing I knew, I was pulling the camel and the wobble chapped too. Now really? I thought, this is rather unfair. But he said, don't you stew. I am doing my share. This is called teamwork. I furnish the brains, you furnish the muscles, the aches and the pains. I'll pick the best roads, tell you just where to go, and we'll find a good doctor more quickly, you know. Then he sat and he worked with his brain and his tongue, and he bossed me around just because I was young. He told me go left, then he told me go right. And that's what he told me all day and all night. Well, have we ever been in that situation? You provide the muscle, I'll provide the brains. Well, you know that works in more than just physical relationships. It works in our finances. It can work in our emotional relationships. It can be in our creative careers, can it? It's anywhere in any relationship that we feel like that we're out of harmony in the flow of that relationship. Now, it doesn't mean, I didn't use the word balance, because balance indicates that we're in that 50-50 thing. And relationships are not 50-50, are they? A good relationship's 100%, 100%. So we're looking at this idea of where are we feeling like it's out of balance. If our little friend would have thought, recognized, realized, experienced that the wubble chap was actually directing the direction of the wubble cart the way that it needed to go, and that he didn't have the expertise to do it, it could have been a good relationship. But he felt put upon, didn't he? So that's where we get into that disharmony, that out of harmony type of experience in our relationships. So they did locate the camel doctor. They located the camel doctor, but it turns out that the camel needed 20 weeks of bed rest. So he had to stay put. And the wubble driver said, well, I have to stay with Mr. Camel because I'm not certainly pulling the wubble. So he sent our hero off down the hill to the Happy Way bus route, where the Happy Way bus leaves at 4:42 for Sollew. Well, the bus stop was there, and that part was just fine, but tacked on a stick was a very small sign saying, notice to passengers using the line, we're sorry to say that our driver, Butch Myers, ran over 4 nails and has punctured all tires. So until further notice, the 442 cannot possibly take you to Sollew, but I wish you the most pleasant journey by feet. Signed, bus line president, Horace P. Sweet. So I went on by feet thanks to Horace P. Sweet, and that Horace P. Sweet almost ruined my feet. Oh dear, more troubles. And they just keep coming, don't they? Here he has escaped along the valley, his home, to escape his troubles. But he keeps finding more troubles on the road, doesn't he? One after the other, one after the other. And imagine how he must be feeling at that point. I'm just trying to do the right thing. I'm just trying to get to this special place. Why is all this trouble coming my way when I'm just trying to get to the good place where they never have troubles, at least very few? Well, the story goes on that he walked 100 miles and he ran into a midwinter jinker, and it's a big wet storm. And he took refuge in a leaky house filled with critters watching him sleep. He was scared to death, and then finally he drifted off to sleep. Then he woke up to only be finding the house sliding down the mountain in a flood of water. He was then rescued by the warlord who conscripted him into the army to fight the perilous Poozer of Pamplemousse Pass as a private, first class no less. He survived this ordeal by escaping down vent number 5. Let's go to vent number 5. Well, that vent where I went was a sort of funnel that led me down into a frightful led me down into a frightful black tunnel. The traffic down there was a mess, I must say, with billions of birds going all the wrong way. They bumped me with bikes and they banged me with dishes. I ran into ladders, beds, bottles, and fishes. I skidded on garbage. I fell in a horn. Troubles. I wish I'd never been born. I was down there 3 days in that bird-filled up place. At least 8,000 times I fell smack on my face. I injured 3 fingers, both thumbs, and both lips. My shin bone, my backbone, my wishbone, and hips. What's more, I was starved. I had nothing to eat. And damp, was it damp? I grew moss on my feet. Now that's pretty bad. Moss on my feet. The poor fellow keeps experiencing more and more and more stuff, doesn't he? Can you feel his frustration? Yeah. And this is the time in this downward spiral. And this one is actually literal. He's in a tunnel. He's going down. He's spiraling down. So it's even a more literal demonstration of the concept for us. And this is when we can start to ask that question. We can start to question within, why is God letting this happen to me? Right? can start to ask that question. And we can begin to fall into duality again. The guy in the sky, the God in the sky, the punishing God. We can begin to fall into that when we get into these dark nights of the soul that we experience. But the dark nights of the soul are a time for us when we can be in that questioning place. The questioning place of, what do I believe? What do I feel? What do I think? What is true for me? What is true for me? And any of us that are walking that path today know how scary, painful, what a struggle, what suffering can be in those. Whether it's physical, whether it's mental, emotional, financial. We've all had our dark nights that we've gone through and had those experiences with. And we say, change your thinking, change your life. Well, if you've got one of those things in your face that has all of your attention, it's kind of a challenge to change your thinking, isn't it? Because it's got your attention. You're focused on it. It's all you can focus on. The pain may be so great that it's got all of your attention right there. So what can we do? We come here. We come here. We connect with each other. We work with our prayer practitioners who can see the light, who can know the truth for us, who can see that different expression of us, the truth of us, which is that we are spirit in form. Yeah, that's what we do. We talked last week about how the first step in the creative process is to ask. The first step is to ask. So that's what we do. We ask each other, support me in this. Pray with me in this. Know this truth with me. I can't see it right now. I'm too focused on this other thing. But can you know it for me? Can you know it with me? And I guarantee you that if you ask, the universe responds. The universe responds in some way for us. Whether it's physically with another community member, saying the perfect words, having a cup of coffee, whatever it might be that we need in that moment, they'll be here. Our prayer practitioners are here. When we ask, the universe says yes and responds. So that's our first step, is that we ask. Ernest Holmes says that anyone can heal who can get away from the effect long enough to perceive a different cause. And that's so true. We have to get away from it because it holds our attention. And the longer it holds our attention, the more energy we put on it, right? So we've got to get that energy off of it and try and move it over to what it is that we do seek to experience more of in our life. So my prayer for all of us is that we can get away from the effect long enough to perceive that different cause. Long enough to perceive that different cause and create a more empowering effect. And that requires faith, doesn't it? It requires having some faith that we can do it. Faith in each other, faith in ourselves, faith in the divine, faith of God. Yeah, it requires that faith and that belief that it's possible. And we're seeing faith expressed in this story with our little guy, aren't we? Because he continues to believe that that land of no troubles that he's been told about is just around the next corner. He continues to believe that Sollew is just right there, keeping his faith even through all these troubles and all these experiences that he's had. He's tired. He's hungry. He's wet with mossy feet. I'm sensing he might have reached his limit. What do you think? A little stressed out, a little done with this adventure? Yeah, I'm kind of sensing that. Let's see what he has to say. Just then, when I thought I could stand it no more, by chance, I discovered a tiny trapdoor. I popped my head out. The great sky was sky blue, and I knew from the flowers I'd finally come through to the banks of the beautiful river Wahoo. I couldn't be far now from Sollew. There it was. With its glittering towers in the air, I'd made it, I'd done it, at last I was there, and I knew that I'd left all my troubles behind, when a chap at the doorway that shimmered and shined waved me a wave that was friendly and kind.
Hey, Miss Lisbon.
"Welcome," he said as he gave me his hand. "Welcome, my son, to this beautiful land. Welcome to sweet, sunny Solla, Sollew, where we never have troubles, at least very few. Imagine. As a matter of fact, we have only just one. Just one little trouble, my son. And this one little trouble, as you will now see, is this one little trouble I have with this key." The thing about keys is they open things, right? They open barriers, they open locks, they open doors. But we have to use it, don't we? It has to work in order for that key to unlock. And I look at this as our spiritual practices. Our spiritual practices are the key to unlocking whatever hidden beliefs we may be dealing with, whatever limiting beliefs we may be dealing with. It's the keys that unlock our magnificence of the Spirit of God that we've come here to express. It's the keys. And just like he's suggesting here, we have to use them, don't we? We have to use them in order for them to work. And that's a personal decision. It's a personal choice as to whether we use them. I know you know about them because I tell you about them every week. So, but do you use them? Do you practice? Do you turn those keys? It's a choice. It's a personal choice that each of us makes. Remember my story about the recession? Remember I was talking about that? Well, I realized that I had a choice in all of that downward spiral that I was experiencing. It was 2008. And I was in the middle of practitioner training, and I was learning some of the deeper practices and things that we do, and going deeper in my own practice, and realized that I had a choice and that I could change my thinking and change my life. I had just proven it on the negative side, hadn't I? Because I had gone from focusing on the positive to focusing on the negative, and I felt awful. And I wanted to feel good again. That was my bottom line. I wanted to feel good again. So I took a look. I had a talk with myself. I said, "Self, someone might say that your home value has dropped below the market value, but dropped below your loan amount." But then I thought, the house hasn't moved. It's the same house. It's the same neighborhood. I can still, fortunately, afford the payments. And I need someplace to live. I'm not ready to move into my car just yet. So I said, okay, that shifted my perspective enough to recognize that, okay, it's an opinion about the value, and so what? I still need to have someplace to live. So I began to shift that. And then I got to thinking about the recession. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Recessions are just a spoke in the wheel of the business cycle. It goes around, right? It's always a cycle. It just felt like this one got stuck. We put a stick in the spoke because we were so focused on it. Do you think maybe that because this was the first recession that we've experienced, where we had all of the access to 24/7 news through the internet, TV, and all the stuff that we have, that maybe we had so much attention focused on this that we put the stick in the spoke. We slowed it down. Imagine, I love imagination, imagine had we all focused instead on the spinning of the cycle and the moving through of that, and that this was just a small piece on the cycle and it keeps going and keeps moving. So when I had that shift in my awareness, I was able to be at peace with the fact that this is just part of the cycle. Let it go. Let it go. It did give me a deeper understanding, though, of my parents' mentality from having survived the Great Depression and how they brought that emotion and that through in their lifetime because they had put a stick in that wheel and stopped it as well with that mentality. So I then looked at what was I feeding my mind. Remember Zig Ziglar? Junk in, or garbage in, garbage out? Yeah. So I was feeding myself all of this negative energy, all this negative information, and it was literally making me sick. So I had to fill up, I turned it all off, and I had to start filling myself up within the positive spiritual principles and things that we teach here, that I know here. And I began to feel better. I was pouring in the positive. So I heeded Holmes' advice. I changed my thinking and changed my life, this time in the affirmative way. This time in the affirmative way. Did I get accused of being a Pollyanna during that time frame? Oh, yeah. You're not living in reality. You're not keeping up with what's going on. It's like, you're right, I'm not. I feel so much better. Yeah. All right, so alas, there actually is one problem in Sollew. One problem. There is only one door into Sollew, and we have a key-slapping slipper. We do. The troublesome slipper moved into my door 2 weeks ago Tuesday at 3:45. Since then, I can't open this door anymore, and I can't kill the slipper. It's very bad luck to kill any slipper. And that's why we're stuck, and why no one gets in, and the town's gone pot. It's a terrible state of affairs, is it not? And so, the doorman to Sollew, so said the doorman to Sollew, my job at the door is finished. I'm through. And I'll tell you what I've decided to do. I'm leaving. I'm leaving Sollew on the banks of the beautiful river Wahoo, where we never have troubles, at least very few, and I'm off to the city of Bula Boo Ball on the banks of the beautiful river Woo Wall, where they never have troubles, no troubles at all. Come on along with me, he said as he ran, and you'll never have any more troubles, young man. I have no more troubles. That's what the man said. What would you do? What would you do? So I started to go, but I didn't. Instead, I did some quick thinking inside my head. Then I started back home to the Valley of Vaughn. I know I'll have troubles. I'll maybe get stung. I'll always have troubles. I maybe get bit by that green-headed quail on the place where I sit. But I bought a big bat. I'm all ready, you see. Now my troubles are going to have troubles with me. So he had to do some quick thinking inside his head. He had to go within. He had to go within and find his answers. What do I do? Do I keep running from my troubles? Do I keep moving on and think I'm going to find a place that has no troubles? Or do I just go back home? Recognizing, like that old saying is so true, wherever I go, there I am. Because what goes with us? Our thoughts, our beliefs. And until we make a change in our thinking and our beliefs, we can change our physical exterior, we can change our hair color, we can change our address, we can change our jobs, we can change our spouse. Doesn't matter until we change. We must change our thinking in order to have a different experience of life, because we'll continue to attract the same things that we've attracted before. That's how the law works. So we can see that it really is a great title, isn't it? This title of I had trouble in getting to Sollew. He had trouble even getting into Sollew, didn't he? He couldn't even get in the door. He couldn't even get in the door. He couldn't run away from his troubles. So he wasn't escaping them from home. He took them with him. He took them with him. And it's a wonderful illustration of that idea of coming back to ourselves and realizing that it's not what happens to us, but it is truly how we deal with what happens to us, isn't it? Now, I'm not crazy about his idea of the bat, like the aggression and so forth of beating up your troubles, because that's just going to create more of it, right? But when we transform that perspective and make that bat our spiritual mind treatment for dissolving our problems, doesn't it take on a new meaning for us? When our spiritual mind treatment becomes that which we defend ourselves against troubles with. And that's really what he's saying is, how do you defend yourself? Through my positive mental attitude, through my prayer treatments that I do, through working with my practitioners when necessary, through my meditation time, going within for my own answers. Yeah. So let's move into our practicing the principles. And I'm sorry we don't have a slide. We could draw them up there maybe. Maybe you do that, Joe. We'll just draw them up there and leave them for everybody this week.
Put your name on the wall.
Yeah, put your name on the wall. So we want to focus on what we want and not complain about what we do want. Have you ever heard that from me before? Yeah, it's a basic principle, right? We need to focus on what we want and not complain about what we don't want. That's what this whole story is about. That's what the whole story is about him focusing on what he doesn't want is the troubles. Because everything they talked about is there's no troubles there. We know the universe doesn't hear no. Anybody familiar with Edwene Gaines? Her little practice about complaining? 30 days. 30 consecutive days of not complaining. And you put a rubber band or something on your wrist, and every time you think or speak a complaint, you have to switch it to the other wrist and start a whole brand new 30-day cycle. So you keep doing it until you get 30 consecutive days. And it's a wonderful practice to help us realize and focus on when we complain and how much we complain. Because it's easy to complain, isn't it? Yeah, no, what's not here, or what's still here, or what's not moving. Yeah. Number 2, change your thinking and watch your life change. You've heard that one before too. We talk about that a lot. And it's the key ingredient, though, I think, here to remember is like my recession example. It goes both ways. We can change our thinking from where we've been in that positive light and start looking at that negative stuff again, and we can change our life. Whereas if we're down in the negative, we can change it to the positive. So we have that opportunity. And number 3, life is a choice and not chance. This concept is one that is easy to struggle with, because if we believe that the creative process works anywhere, it works everywhere. Because it just doesn't make sense that we can create the good to come into our lives, but we don't create the negative stuff to come into our lives. It doesn't make sense, because that sets up an opportunity for duality again, doesn't it? Well, God gives me the good stuff, but then that Satan character gives me the bad stuff. So we set up this idea of the duality again. And that's where it becomes hard in the science of mind to understand that we don't believe in that Satan character, that there's only God, God is only good, and it's how we choose to direct the law. And we may or may not know that we're doing it. And that's the other challenge. I do not believe that any of us in this room have brought upon ourselves any debacle, any negativity, any illness, anything. I don't believe none of us have intentionally done anything negative to ourselves. None of us. And yet we all experience those things. And I think those are some of the hidden things that are within us. I know I continue to discover hidden things within myself all the time, and I've been doing this work a long time. It's there, it's pervasive. I had a conversation with one of my minister friends this week about it, and we were just, both of us, just shaking our head about how deep this stuff runs in us. And it's there. It's there. We've got the tools here. We've got the tools to be able to help ourselves to elevate above it. We've got the support around us in each other to be able to do this, to be able to heal. And healing is not just physical, it's mental, emotional, it's in any area of our life. It's any place that there is dis-ease within us. So the key to life being choice and not chance is to keep our energy at that higher vibration like we talked last week, right? At the energy, at the level of belief, at the energy level of acceptance, expectation, of knowing that God is good and the good is ours, and keeping us there. Number 4, the answers reside within us, and we can always choose to return to ourselves. And again, our spiritual practices are our way of bringing that home, to coming in and discovering the truth within, the truth of all life. We get so distracted by our 5 senses and what's going on around us on the external that we can forget that we are beings of the divine. We are God in form here on planet Earth. We are the light. We can forget that when we get distracted. So we must be still and know the God within. Because that's how we connect. That's how we remember. So we are in the one mind, and the mind of God, and the mind of God has all answers. So that's how he discovered his truth, wasn't it? He went within. I had to do some thinking in my head. Sometimes we have to do some thinking in our hearts. So much like the story of the prodigal son, we sometimes do have to go away to come home to ourselves. To come home to ourselves. So I want to close this out this morning with a note from author Seth Godin. I don't know if you're familiar with Seth. And this one was titled No Way Out. And he says that's why we burn the boats when we land on the beach. Because the only way out is through. It's pretty easy to bail out of a course, especially if it's a free online course that nobody knows you're taking anyway. Easy to quit your job, fire a client, or give up on a relationship. In the moment, walking out is precisely the best short-term strategy. Sometimes this place is too hard, too unpleasant, too much. The thing is, though, that the long-term strategy might be opposite. The best long-term approach might be to learn something, to tough it out, to engage with the challenge. Because once you get through this, you'll be different, better. We always have a choice, but sometimes it's good to act as if we don't. Powerful stuff. So we can't just run away from our troubles, but we can dissolve them. We can dissolve them. And there's no place in the world that we can go that we don't change our thinking first, that the troubles aren't going to follow us, right? So I know if we use our tools and we use our practices and we use our support that we have around us, that we'll all end up in the city of Bula Bubal on the banks of the beautiful river Wubal, where they never have troubles, no troubles at all. So I would invite you to join me as we anchor this in affirmative prayer this morning. So how good it is to go within in recognition of that one power and presence that resides within each one of us, in through and as us as our life is the very breath that we take. This power, this presence is the divine. It is God. It is source, essence, presence. It is the one. It is wisdom, intelligence, harmony, balance, abundance, prosperity. It is all that there is. And I know that I am that which it is in form, individualized and unique, that spark of the divine, that illuminates as my life itself. The very fact that I am here experiencing life is the divine expression through me. And I know that this truth of me is true of each and every one in this room within the sound of my voice, for I know that we are all those beings of God energy, God light, God substance, God source. So from this place of knowing, it's very easy to speak my word for about each and every one in this room, knowing, claiming, and accepting the absolute wholeness of each one in each and every area of their lives as their lives unfolds through them, uniquely and dynamically, powerfully expressing as the magnificence that they have come here to be, to do, and to express. I know, claim, and accept this for each now as they bring this awareness into their consciousness and focus on that, knowing that whatever it is that they are working with right now, that it is made manifest and whole through and as them, that everything that they need in its manifestation is coming to and through them now. No matter where it may be, whatever the source of it is, it will find them. That's how this law works. You plant a seed, it says yes. I speak a special word this morning for Lori Frisbee, Tom Frisbee, and that family as they have lost a loved one this morning. Knowing that that family is supported in light and love, peace, comforted by the memories of the loved one who has passed from this plane into the next. So it is with great gratitude that I place this prayer lovingly into that action of law, knowing that it is already done, it is already made manifest, and we simply await its fullest expression. We anchor and affirm this truth together by proclaiming.